everyone, Helen here. How are you today? Hope you're okay. Thanks for popping in to see me. I'm going to chat a bit today about a couple of finished projects, one knitting and one crochet. I'm going to talk a little bit about my ongoing blanket project. I'm going to talk a little bit about just a couple of recent journeys. And yeah, I think that's it for today. So let's get straight on with finished projects first of all. And my first one, which I suddenly realised we were approaching the end of June and I hadn't actually made a gnome for June because I'm at the moment busy doing the Year of Gnomes knit along that Sarah Shearer is hosting. And so here is my June gnome. I think it's probably fairly obvious for you to see that he is inspired by the summer solstice or just summertime in general. I decided to do a nice bright yellow hat and embroider a little sun symbol on his hat. And I just chose yarns which were kind of sunrise or sunset colours. And I'm rather pleased with him. I think he looks rather nice there, very summery. Definitely looks like a June gnome. So yeah, so that's him. I just used bits and bobs of leftover yarn. He's so small, they're great for using up leftover yarn. These are, I think, I don't even know what they all are. I think the multicoloured one is a bit of Serdar Click, I think it's called. And it's just got all sorts of colours in it, but I'm not quite sure what the other ones are. Yeah, anyway, so there we go, the June gnome. And then my other finished project, another small project at all, not as small as the gnome, is a bag. And I was chatting with a lovely friend of mine recently who was telling me about the Japanese knot bag, which I had heard of, but hadn't really come across before. And they're a really lovely design of bag. And just after I'd had this chat, I saw on Instagram that somebody was offering a free pattern for a crocheted knot bag. And I thought, right, I'm going to have a go at this. So here it is. Nice summer colours again, I think, really. And I used a Caron Cotton Cake yarn, which is self-striping, and I can't remember what the colourway is. I'll try and find out and put it in the description box. But then I also, when I finished crocheting it, so it comes apart like this, I just love the way it fastens, and it's, you know, so quite secure there. So it has a long handle and a short handle. Yeah, so I decided that I needed to line it as well. So I found some nice cotton fabric just in my stash. Didn't take a lot, and I basically laid the finished bag on the fabric and drew around it, and then cut it a bit larger so that I had enough of a seam, and I just sewed it all by hand. And yeah, that went absolutely fine. So I'm very, very happy with that. And I think I might be making one or two more as gifts. And yeah, talking of gifts, I think I might join in with this concept that I only discovered too late last year, which is called Christmas in July, where you start thinking ahead to Christmas, and you can maybe focus on getting a few gifts made, or you can even make some Christmassy things in July that you'll have ready for Christmas. So I might actually join in with that this time, because yeah, it is a time. If you're a crafter and you make handmade gifts, you can't wait until, you know, November before you start making the things. Yes. Anyway, so yeah, so this bag, I'll leave a link to where you can find the free pattern. I'll put that in the description box below. It was a designer called Sweet Softies, which does a lot of little toys and things as well. But yeah, all sorts of things you'll find on her website. So that is my Japanese knot bag. And then I was just going to chat a little bit about my blanket that I'm busy making, the rainbow blanket that I'm making only out of leftover Stylecraft Special DK. And so I made a little video just to sort of talk a bit more about the process that I'm going through in choosing the colours. So what I'm doing with my blanket is I'm following the order of colours in the rainbow, and started with red. And when I got to the 9th row, I decided to introduce one of the orangey colours. So I did that there. And then I started on the orangey colours, different shades of orange. But when I got to the 4th row, I thought it would look good to have a little bit of red in. So I'm kind of linking those two colours. And then as I went on, I introduced a bit of greenish colours into the yellow. And so that's how I'm going. So approximately the 3rd stripe is one of the colours from the previous band of colours. And then when I get to the 9th stripe of colour, I'm introducing a colour from the next band of colours. So, and the thing I'm doing is trying not to buy any yarn at all. So I'm having to make do with whatever shades I've got. So yellows, I didn't have so much yellow left, and so I've used this one 3 times, for example. Whereas the greens, I've got loads of different greens left, and so that means that probably most of these will be different. But anyway, I'm very happy with how that is working out. So yes, the blanket is going quite well, and I think I'm more than halfway through it now. And that's heading for the camper van once that's finished. So it's been so lovely to had a few days of lovely weather where I can just go and sit out in the garden with it. It's nothing better than sitting on a blanket on the grass with a cushion behind my back and just sitting there slowly doing some kind of crafting. Really lovely. I love the summer. I really don't have a favourite season. I like each season for different reasons, and I could not pick out a favourite season. There's good and bad things about each season. So, but it is one of the nice things about summer when it's nice weather. It's not always nice, is it? It's that you can actually sit outside and do things. It's really nice. I'm very lucky to have a bit of garden to sit in, and most of the time there's not any unpleasant noise disturbances. Mostly it's very peaceful, so really nice. I was just thinking how much I enjoy that slow pace of making things by hand, and how, you know, you do have to be, well, do you have to be patient? I remember, it just reminds me of the Canadian knitter and writer Stephanie Pearl McPhee, who I remember reading once. She said when people say to her, you must be so patient to do knitting, and that she always replies by saying, no, it's the knitting that makes her patient. And I think that's a very good point, really. You don't have to be a patient person to do these handcrafts, but by doing them, it forces you to slow down and just take things step by step. And the more difficult it is, the slower you might go, but that's all okay as long as there's no pressing deadline for getting something finished. It should just be a very relaxing step by step thing. And I'm having to think about that at the moment. I've called today's podcast Taking Tiny Steps, and yeah, we do that when we're making things, but at the moment I'm particularly referring to kind of getting life back to a little bit more as it was before the pandemic started. I haven't really talked about the pandemic very much at all in any of my podcasts, and yeah, it's affecting me much more now than during the pandemic, when we knew, right, we had to stay at home, the rules were clear, and we knew exactly where we stood, and I just stayed in a very safe cocoon. I'm very, very fortunate. I certainly felt very fortunate that I had no particular worries as long as I just stayed and followed the rules and things. I didn't have any other worries at all. I felt very lucky indeed. And so I liked that. I was perfectly happy, you know, being told to stay at home and only go out once a day and that, and all sorts of things like that. But it's coming out of that way of living that I'm finding really, really hard. And I suppose I just liked it so much, you know, not having to go here, there and everywhere. And yeah, maybe that's my natural way of being. But anyway, I know that I need to kind of get out a bit more now. And before the pandemic, you know, I used to regularly go out. I used to use public transport because I don't drive. And, you know, I'd go to Newcastle once a week to meet up with my mum, and I'd go get the bus into Durham to go shopping or to the library or, you know, whatever. And that was just a fairly regular part of my life. And but I got out of the habit of it, didn't I? And I then developed a great anxiety about actually going and doing it again. So a few days ago, I decided, right, I really, really have got to go out and, you know, just be brave and go out. So I arranged to meet up with my mum in Newcastle, and thought that I would get the train to Newcastle. It's only a short journey. It's only about 12 or 13 minutes on the train. I thought that would be a good start, a tiny step towards getting back to normal. And so that was fine. That I was okay going to the station. And but once I was on the station, I was washed over with such a feeling of anxiety of just being there. And it wasn't about any one particular thing. It was just, I don't know, it's one of those things you can't really put your finger on. Why am I feeling like this? I would never have imagined that I could feel like that, just, you know, going and standing on a train station. And I thought I'd talk about it today because I am pretty certain I'm not the only one who's feeling like that. If you don't feel like that, you'll think it sounds really, really silly, but you might know, you might understand what I'm talking about here. Anyway, so I actually stood there and had to do some deep breathing to calm myself down and tell myself everything was okay. And I think, sort of thinking about it a bit more now, I think it's just that when I'm at home, or just going out for a walk, I'm in control. So for the past 2 years or so, I have had control over, you know, who I've been near and how far away I am from people, and, you know, nothing unexpected is going to happen. And yeah, out in the world there, you can't control other people's actions and how close people come to you, and I don't know. It's definitely to do with a feeling of control or lack of control. Anyway, I managed to calm myself down, and I decided that I would distract myself a bit by doing a few bits of video that I could share with you. And I'm going to show you that in a minute. And the trip to Newcastle was completely fine. There was no problem at all. I did feel, I did have an underlying anxiety about being there, but it was lovely to meet up with my mum and, you know, have a coffee together. And we went in a couple of shops. Actually, it was so nice to be in a bookshop again. I just hadn't been in a bookshop for over 2 years. And so I treated myself to a book that I'll show you another time. You know, yeah, I thought I've been really brave today, taking this tiny step. And so I bought a really nice crochet book. And yeah, so yeah, it was all actually fine, but you know, I couldn't wait to get home. I think I'd been in Newcastle for maybe an hour and a half, and then I thought, nope, I've got to go home now. So it was just like a sudden thing. No, I've had enough. And so that was my first tiny step. And although when I was home again, I felt like, oh, I don't really want to repeat that very soon. I know that really I need to just get back to a bit more of a normal behaviour. Anyway, I don't know if all that rambling was of any use at all, but I just thought you might be interested to know. And I've condensed my very short train journey into 1 minute of video. So I thought you'd like to come along with me on the train. So to finish off today, I'm going to take you out in the camper van, just on a little outing to a local place by the sea on the northeast coast called Seaham. You may have been there before, or it may be just somewhere that you're going to visit with me via the wonderful world of YouTube. Seaham is a really lovely place. It has a very rich history. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you the whole history of Seaham right now, but I just thought I would, talk about one or two things. We were there just for the morning and for lunch. Actually, we had a walk in the morning, and then had lunch in a seashore cafe, which was really nice. And we visited a very, very old church. It's one of the 20 oldest churches in Britain, and it is thought to date back to Anglo-Saxon times, which is over 1400 years ago. We weren't able to go in, unfortunately, but we had a nice time looking around the outside, so that was very nice. And then, one of the things I discovered about Seaham that I hadn't realised when I was reading one of the information boards was that the poet Lord Byron was there in 1815, and he went to get married to a young lady there who lived at Seaham Hall, and the marriage didn't last very long. It lasted about a year, I think. And well, that was typical of Lord Byron. But while he was married, his wife had a baby, which is his only legitimate child, and she turned out to be a famous mathematician. You might have heard of her. She's called Ada Lovelace, and she is sometimes described as the world's first computer programmer. She was very good at maths, but she was very interested in Charles Babbage's, what is it called? Yeah, Charles Babbage's the very first computer type of machine. And so she worked on that. So that's really interesting that her father was Lord Byron. Back to the walk. Seaham, one of the things that Seaham is most famous for, though, is that on the beaches you can find a lot of sea glass. And the reason for that is that one of the main industries of Seaham and the surrounding areas in the 19th century at least was glass making and bottle making. And in Seaham there was the largest bottle works in Britain, which was there from the 1850s to I think 1921 it closed. And that particular factory made up to 20,000 bottles every day. Amazing. And they were all hand blown, and there were all different types of bottles that were distributed all around the world. So absolutely amazing. But all of the glassworks and bottle works in the area used to just dump their waste glass into the sea. So over the many, many years that all these bits of glass have been in the sea, they've been tumbled about and worn and smoothed, and they're still being washed up on the beaches in the area. And one of the reasons that Seaham is particularly a favourite of sea glass collectors is the variety of colours of glass that you can find there. And whenever you visit, especially Seaham Hall Beach, and you look along the beach, just about everybody will be walking along, looking at the ground or the beach, or they'll be sitting there and you know, searching amongst all the pebbles all around them. And yeah, so it's a lovely place, and you just can't help yourself when you walk along. So part of our walk, we walked along the beach and had a look to see if we could find some sea glass. And we didn't find, well, I found 2 teeny bits of green glass, but mostly it was white glass that I found. But it was fun looking, and I was very happy to come away with my little handful of bits of sea glass. And I'm sure I will find something to do with them, but yeah, that was really good. So yeah, so that's Seaham. I will definitely take you back to Seaham to see a bit more of it another time, but for now I'm going to take you for a little ride in the camper van as we travel to Seaham, and then I'll take you on our walk as well. Well then, that's it for today, and thank you for spending your time with me. Thank you if you've made a comment recently, and please do carry on making comments or just like the video and even subscribe if you haven't subscribed. That'll be really good. And I'll be back again very soon. So until then, keep busy, take good care of yourself, take tiny steps if you need to. If you're finding it hard to make progress with anything at all, just remember you only need to take tiny steps. Okay then, see you soon. Bye.